Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So as you guys can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be doing a story time video for you guys. I'm going to be flat ironing this wig while I'm doing the story time, so you'll be watching me do that. The ends are all matted, so I'm going to try and separate it a little bit. This wig is from... Just kidding, I made this wig. I actually showed you guys me making this wig in a video I made at the end of last year. I forgot exactly when I made it, but it was about a year ago. But it's a synthetic blend, so I'm just going to do the flat iron on 250 degrees. What I usually do with synthetic wigs, I haven't done it with this wig before, but I usually soak it in fabric softener. But I already have this one like installed. Like, I'm getting really proud of myself because I've been installing my closures, like their frontals, and I just like it and I don't want to take it off yet, even though it is starting to lift a little bit. I'm going to try and rock it for the rest of the week, so I'm going to leave it on my head, just flat iron it. None of that's important for this video. So anyway, this video, I don't know if I'll call it a client horror story, because it's not really a horror story. It's just, I guess it's just a story of a bad experience that I had with one of my clients. It's more of an example of me being too nice, I'll admit. Like, this is something I kind of got myself into, but not so much. Sometimes I do favors for clients, and a lot of times it goes unappreciated, so I really need to stop doing that. But here's an example, so we're just gonna get into it. So if you've been following me for a while, you would know that I used to work at a beauty supply store, and I did braids there. I do braids at a salon now, and I also work on my own, but I was doing it at a beauty shop as well. They just offered braiding in the back, so I would do that whenever they had clients who wanted to get their hair done. So I remember this took place the night before Christmas Eve. So basically, this client, she was calling me trying to get an appointment to get a wig install, and she wanted it done the next day, which was Christmas Eve, and I didn't have time to do it. And she was like, oh, please can you squeeze me in somewhere? But I really had no time. On Christmas Eve, I worked from 7 in the morning until like that night. Like, I worked all day on Christmas Eve, so I was like, no, I can't fit you in anywhere. But she seemed really nice about it. She was just like really desperately trying to get this appointment. Yeah, she just seemed like she was like really desperate to get this install, but I was like, sorry, I can't take you. So anyway, she was just asking me when I could next do it, the next time I could do it, and I told her, I forgot the date, but it was sometime early in January, because I was already booked for the rest of the year at the time. Sorry, this brush has these bristles that make a lot of sound, and it sounds like the hair is just that dry. I mean, it is, but this is like exaggerating it, so sorry if that sound annoys you. So anyway, I gave her the date for the next available appointment I had. Let's just say it was January 10th. I forgot what date, but it was in the beginning of January. So I had told her, I remember that day I had an appointment in the morning, and then I had to teach my dance lessons in the evening. So I told her that I could take her at 2 or 3. And I remember she was saying that she gets out of work at 4, or I forgot what time. She said sometime around like 3:30. So I told her that I could take her at 4. But I told her that's the absolute latest time I could take you, 4 o'clock. So she said, okay, she'll be there. So anyway, so now it's the day of her appointment. And, yeah, like I said, her appointment was 4 o'clock at the very latest, and I was going to be at the beauty supply store. And before her, I had an appointment, but it was my own client, so I was taking her at my house. So anyway, around like 3 o'clock or 3:30, I get a text from her, and she's saying, hi, Kelsey, I'm so sorry. All right. Move this up a little bit. She's like, hi, Kelsey, I'm so sorry. I'm stuck at work, and I'm not going to be home till 4 or 4:30. I'm really sorry. I promise I'm usually always on time. I feel like I'm giving you a really bad first impression. Like, she seemed like genuinely sorry. Basically saying that she's usually on time for appointments. This never happens, but she really did just get stuck at work. So I was like, you know, like, I wasn't mad. Like, I was understanding, but at the same time, I was like, well, I can't take you anymore because I have somewhere to be. Because I had to be out of my house around 6, I think. Forgot what time, but I had to be out because I had to teach my dance lessons. So I just told her that I can't take her. So she was just asking me like when I have another appointment available. So at this time, the beauty store was actually closing, and this was the last week that the store was going to be open. So before that, whenever I worked there, I never told the clients there that I did hair at my house. I never told them that I traveled because I never wanted them to ask me to do their hair anywhere outside the store, because to me that's stealing from the store, because that's the store's clients. So I never mentioned that until around now, because she was closing anyway. And, well, she wasn't closing, but she was moving the store, and where she moved it to was almost an hour away. So more than likely, none of the clients were going to follow anyway. So now I was telling them that I do this outside as well. So anyway, so I told her that I don't have any more appointments available that week, so I was not going to be able to take her at the store again. And I told her, just so you know, this is the last week that the store is going to be open, and they're going to be relocating to I told the city that they were moving to. So I was like, I won't be traveling with them because it's too far from me, but if you did want to go with the store, the other stylist, who's the owner of the store, she can do your braids. But if you would like me to do them, I can also do it at my house. I just live 5 minutes away from the store. And that's basically what I was telling all the clients at this point, because, you know, I wasn't going to be there anymore. So I was always telling them, like, if you want, the owner can do your hair. She does braids too. But if you also don't feel like traveling that far, I'm only 5 minutes away. So if you're used to going there, you'll still come to me. You know what I mean? I was trying to be as honest as possible. So anyway, so after I told her that, she calls me and she goes, oh, you work out of your house? Wait, question, would you travel? Would you come to my house? So I was like, yeah, I do house calls too. And she's like, okay, well, I'm about to be home from work. I'm only like 5 minutes from you. Like, I'm just 5 minutes away from you. I'm going to be home in a few minutes. And, oh my gosh, I forgot an important detail. Let's backtrack a little bit. So the night when she called me, like I said, it was the night before Christmas Eve. So when she called me, I was in the midst of wrapping presents and, you know, like getting myself together because I knew I had no time to do anything on Christmas Eve. So I'll be honest, I was trying to get off the phone as soon as possible because it was also late at night when she called. So while on the phone, she was asking me the price of the wig install, and I told her, and then she was like, oh, I do braids too. She was like, what if I braid my own hair? Because I'm really tender-headed and I have a hard time with people braiding my hair. What if I do my own hair? I'm a braider. Would it be a discount? I've never been asked that before, and I should have said, no, you can't do that. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I was just so focused on getting off the phone that I was like, sure, whatever. So I just gave her a price like minus, what was it, $30? Yeah, I took off $30 because if you had come in to get your hair braided down for a wig, that's what it would have cost. So it's like, yeah, we'll just take $30 off the price, you know? So I gave her a discount, which I should not have done, but I was not thinking. But she said she's a braider, so I believed her. So I was like, okay, you can braid your own hair. So anyways, let's get back to the day of her appointment. So she's telling me she's on her way home from work, and she's going to be home in 5 minutes. She's just going to braid her hair. And she's like, if you leave right now, by the time you get there, I'm already got my hair braided. Like, I'm just going to take out the 4 braids I have right now and then just put them back in. So by the time you get there, my hair will be braided. So I was like, okay. I forgot what time it was, but I knew it was cutting it close. So I just told her, okay, like, I was like, you're really only 5 minutes away. Or what did I say? I was like, so I could start by 4. I think I said 4:30. Whatever time I gave her, I was like, okay, like, basically I was making an exception even though it was already too late. Because I remember getting off the phone with her and I was like, why did I just agree to do that? I don't have time to do her hair. Like, it's already past 4 o'clock. You know what I mean? So I was like, just text me the address and then I'll head over there. So I got off the phone with her and I'm waiting for her to send me the address. And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and she's not sending it. And honestly, I was happy she wasn't sending it because I regretted even agreeing to this because I was like, I don't have time to do this. Why would I do this? So anyway, she eventually sent me the address. And I also remember thinking, like, how does she know she's only 5 minutes away? Like, you don't know where I live. But I realized now that she was thinking that I was at the shop, but I wasn't because... Anyway, so she finally sent me the address like 10 minutes later. And at this point, every minute is crucial because I'm already too late. You know, like, your appointment is way gone. And I already told you that 4 o'clock was the absolute latest I could take you. So we're definitely pushing it now. So she sends me the address. And I look it up on the maps. And she's actually 15 minutes away from my house. And not only is she 15 minutes away, but she's also in the opposite direction of where I need to go to teach my dance lessons. So there is literally no way. There's no way I can make it. So I call her back and I was like, I'm sorry, you're actually 15 minutes away from me and you're also in the other direction of where I need to go, so I don't have time to do your hair. And she's like, oh, I thought you were at the shop. And I was like, no, I was only going to the shop to do your hair. I don't work there all the time. I just, you know, do clients there. But I was like, I'm at my house and you're 15 minutes away and I don't have the time. So I told her again. So again, she sounded really sad and she was like, oh no, what am I supposed to do? Because she has something coming up. And honestly, she sounded like a really nice person and I actually did feel sorry for her. So I was just thinking about it, and like I said, I have to teach my dance lessons. I teach them at 6. I'm usually teaching them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I was like, okay, if you don't mind getting your hair done really late, I can go to my appointment now, and then when I'm done, I can come over and do your hair. That'll be around 8 o'clock. Would that work? And she was like, yes, thank you so much. Yes, that's perfect. I'll stay awake. That's fine. Thank you so much. So I was like, you're welcome. You're welcome. Alright, so quick recap. She told me she was going to go home and take out her braids and put 4 braids back in, and she would have it done by the time I got to her house because she was thinking I was 5 minutes away, so she really thought she could get her hair done in 5 minutes. But whatever. But now I went from saying I'll be there at 4:30 to 8 o'clock, so you got more time. So anyways, I went, I taught my dance lessons, and then when I was leaving their house, I put the address in, and I don't know why I remember so well, but I remember that the GPS was saying I'll be at her house at 8:41. So I texted her. I said I'm leaving my appointment now. The GPS says I'll be there at 8:41, and she said, okay, thank you. So, anyways, I'm driving, and this is like a 20-something minute drive for me. So I'm driving, and then I get to her house, and I just remember like seeing like kids running around in the window, and I was like, ugh. Like, I don't hate kids, but I hate when there's kids like running around when I'm trying to work, because sometimes they get in the way. And I don't complain about it because it's their house, but you know, it kind of gets in the way. And I think I was also a little bit cranky because, you know, I had been working all day, and then I was just dancing, and I was like, I was doing her this favor, but I honestly didn't feel like doing her this favor. And plus, me traveling to her house was not the original plan because she wasn't my client. Like, today she was a beauty store client, which means there was no travel fee in this. And I didn't even think about mentioning that to her on the phone. So I literally just drove to her house for free. And I'm doing after hours work for no extra charge. But I was like, whatever. She already has half the work done. I mean, braiding isn't really half the work, but it's something, you know? So I was like, at least I don't have to braid her hair. So I can just put on the wig really quick, glue it down, and then style it for her, and I'll be done. So anyway, so I text her and I tell her that I'm there, and she tells me to just come in, which I hate, by the way. I hate when I go to somebody's house for the first time and they're like, oh, just come in. Because I don't know who's there. I don't know who I'm going to walk in on. So anyway, so I walk into the house, and the living room is right on my right side. And I see a woman sitting there, and her hair is all out, and she's in a robe. So my automatic thought is, okay, well, that's not my client, because my client said she was going to have her hair braided, and it would be braided by the time I got to her house at 4:30, and it's 8:41, so that's clearly not my client. So anyway, I just walk in, I'm like, oh, hi, you know, feeling like I walked in on the wrong person. And she's like, what's your name again? So I'm like, Kelsey. And she's like, oh, I need to give her a name. Her name is Coffee. I have a coffee mug sitting on my dresser. So her name is Coffee, okay? So she's like, oh, hi, I'm Coffee. Nice to actually meet you. And I was like, oh, hi. Because her hair is not braided. So I'm just like, I didn't say it, but I'm just thinking, why isn't her hair braided? I thought she said she was going to braid her own hair. Why my hair this late and your hair still not braided? No, that's a lie. She had one braid. And the rest of her hair was all out. And not to be judgmental, but it was a sloppy braid too. And she said she's a braider. So anyway, so I'm just like stunned. So I'm immediately irritated. Like, this whole time I'm thinking at least she's a nice person or whatever. And as soon as I saw that her hair wasn't done, I was irritated. Like, I was ready to go home. So I'm going to try and do the fast version of the story because there's a lot that happened this night. So I'm going to try and speed it up. So excuse my fast talking. I also have a client who's going to be over here in like 30 minutes. So I don't really have all night. But anyway, she starts like casually talking about like how busy her day is and how her work is, like basically mentioning like why her hair is not done, but she's so casual about it, like, oh yeah, you know, like things got in the way, and you know, I'm here trying to braid this hair, but like look at this, see why I'm tender-headed? And she's showing me her hair, and like her roots are so matted and her ends are so broken. I could tell she never puts her comb in her hair from roots to end. I think she just does the ends because then when it gets to the roots it hurts, and she's like, oh no, I'm not doing this. So she's just sitting there taking her time, slowly braiding her hair. And then she's like, oh, and look how long my nails are. This is why it takes so long for me to braid my hair too. And she's just like casually talking. And then in the middle of her doing the second braid, she literally stops and makes a phone call. It's not like somebody called her and interrupted her. She's just like, oh yeah, I need to call this person. And she stops, and it's like a video call on her tablet. So it's FaceTime or whatever it was. It was a work call, so I don't know if it's Zoom or whatever. But she stops doing her hair to make this phone call. And I'm just standing there. Not even sitting there, because I'm just the kind of person, I don't sit down if I'm not offered a seat. And plus, the way her room was, like, there was nowhere for me to sit, because it was one of those sectional sofas that have the ottomans in the middle, but it's so big that it makes it more like a bed than a couch. So there's no place for me to casually sit down. And she's just, like, sitting in the middle of it, like, cross-legged and everything, just comfortable. So I just felt like it'd be weird for me to sit there, too. And plus, there was stuff all over it. Like, they had Christmas decorations all over because it was the beginning of January, so they had Christmas stuff everywhere as if they were now cleaning it up or whatever. So if not, their house was messy. It was just kind of cluttered, but it was a decoration, so, you know, normal. But the thing is, there was nowhere for me to sit, so I was just standing there in front of the door, just, like, watching her. And I was like, this is weird. And I'm just, like, getting more and more irritated as I stand there. And she's taking forever to put these 4 braids in her hair. So then I noticed that she's making them really, really loose too, because she's not trying to get the roots, and she's also not even braiding the end, so it's unraveling as she's moving on. And I remember her telling me she wanted the wig sewn down too, and I was just thinking there's no way I could sew a wig onto those loose braids. So I just asked her, I was like, you want me to sew the wig still, or you just want it glued on? And she's like, oh no, I still want it sewed. And I should have told her right then and there that I wasn't going to be able to sew it, but I was just like, I was so stunned that I was really watching her braid her hair. And I was just thinking in my head this whole time, I thought you said it takes 5 minutes to do your hair. I knew that was an exaggeration, but still. You went from having 5 minutes to do your hair to having 4 hours. Why aren't these 4 braids in your head? And I just want to be like, you want me to do it at this point? Especially because she's just ripping the comb, and it's just like irking me to watch people break their hair off like that. Like, it's just like crunching and oh my gosh. Like, I'm like, can I please just do it? But she's all, no, I'm tender-headed, you know, whatever. But I was like, I can't work on this. And that's the moment I realized I messed up. I should have never, ever agreed to let her do her own hair. And the thing is, I know better. Like, any artist or stylist knows that you never want to work over anybody else's work, because it messes you up, and then in the end it looks like you did something wrong. Like, the braids are a foundation for a wig install or a sew-in. Like, your braid is the foundation, and if it's a bad job, the whole thing's gonna look messy. It's not gonna stay down. So I was like, okay, this sucks because this is gonna be a bad install. I already know. So anyway, she finally finishes the braids, and I can finally get started. So throughout the night, it's a whole bunch of little things that were irritating me as I was doing this, but like I said, I'm going to try and tell the story in the fast version. Basically, one thing is that she was doing that thing when she was saying that she could have gotten this install cheaper. She was like, oh yeah, I'm from Jamaica. I think she said Jamaica. Yeah, she's like, I'm from Jamaica, and over there, you can get your wig installed for $50, and that's including the wig. And I was like, I don't know where you found that type of deal, like the wig and the install $50. I mean, if that's true, then cool, but why are you telling me this? Because don't think for a second that I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? And why even mention that when you already have your own wig? Like, what are you trying to say? And then another thing that was really bothering me was she was like calling her boyfriend or fiance or whoever he was, and they were on a FaceTime call, and it was just such a disgusting, inappropriate conversation. And it's like, do you not know I'm standing right here? And they were doing that thing where, you know how like some people, like, you make a dirty joke, but you have to know what you're talking about to get it. Like, you could say something casually, but if you think about it with a dirty mind, you could tell what they're trying to say. That's basically how the conversation was, but it wasn't like going over my head like she thought it was. Like, I could understand everything that they were talking about. And I remember at one point the guy on the phone was even like, you're really gonna say that, and your hairstylist is right there? And she goes, she doesn't know what I'm talking about. And I was just like, how rude. Like, I'm standing right here. I can hear your whole conversation. I can hear him saying, you're really saying that next to your stylist? I can hear you saying, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that was just rude and awkward and just really uncomfortable. So anyway, so I'm going on with this install. And what happened? At one point, first of all, it's very uncomfortable for me to do this because she's sitting on a couch. And I would prefer to have a chair where there's a backrest and, you know, everything, because a couch backrest is huge and fluffy. So for me to do your hair, I need to be like hunched over it, which is not comfortable for me. But I didn't say anything because a lot of times when I go to people's houses, they don't really have the most comfortable setup. But like I said, when you go to people's houses, you can't really expect everything, so I'm just used to not complaining. But I could have just asked for a chair, but I didn't. I was just irritated at that point and not thinking straight. There's a lot that I could have just changed with the situation, but I was just like, let me just get done and go home. So I'm already in this uncomfortable position doing her hair, and then all of a sudden she just falls asleep. Like, she gets off the phone with what's his face and she falls asleep, and she's sleeping like this, like all hunched over. And this is the part where I'm trying to sew the wig down, right? Like, I've already like glued the front the best that I could, and I'm waiting for it to set, and I'm trying to sew around the perimeter, and she was all leaned over like that. So I'm trying to like shake her a little bit to get her to wake up, because my clients fall asleep on me sometimes. It happens, but if I need them to wake up, they usually just wake up when I turn their head a certain way, or, you know, some sort of movement. Like, I'm not rough. I don't jerk them awake. It's not necessary. But with her, she was not waking up. So I'm literally like on the floor, like squatting down, trying to like get up under her, trying to sew around her ears and everything. And I'm already struggling because the braids are so loose and big. Like, who only puts 4 braids under a wig when you want the wig sewn? So I'm struggling, and I can't get her to wake up. And at one point, she had an older son apparently who came downstairs, and he was like, "Oh, mom," and I was like, "Yeah, I can't get her to wake up either." And he was just like he was trying to wake her up too, and like actually trying to shake her, and she won't wake up. And he was just like, whatever. I went back upstairs. So I don't know if this is normal. And by the way, she was drinking while I was doing her hair, so I don't know if she just suddenly passed out, but she was not my responsibility, not in that way. So I was like, okay, like that's another thing that's annoying me tonight. Like, I can't even work in a comfortable position. And at this point, it's really late because I should have been done. Like, if you had your braids done, I would have been done. And if I had done the braids, I would have still been done. But it's just so much slowing me down tonight, and I'm tired, and it's late, and I just want to go home because I just feel like I already went above and beyond by coming here for free, and I feel like for you to not even have your hair done yet, like, that shows no appreciation. So anyway, at one point she finally wakes up, and what am I doing when she wakes up? I'm like about to flat iron it, I think, or curl it. So anyway, when she woke up, I basically explained to her, like, I was trying to get her up because I wanted to explain I can't get the wig sewn down as tightly as I'd like it. And I was explaining to her, like, when I do my braid down, I do smaller braids, and I always make sure the braid is, like, really close to the ear so I could sew it, like, you know, close to certain areas where I would like to sew it. But I didn't have that because her first braid was, like, up here, not down here. Like, you can't really sew much when your braids are up there. It's, like, here, these 4, you know? So I was just explaining that it's not gonna hold down. And she's like, it's okay, it's whatever. But, like, I'm just feeling the wig, like, it's loose. It's gonna come off. Like, I can't sew it down properly. The braids are too big. The thread's doing nothing. And also the front is already lifting. Like, I couldn't get it to hold down because the braids were so bulky. So I was just explaining all that to her. And she's like, it's okay. It's whatever. You know, I braid my hair all the time, so it's fine. It'll stay. So I was like, I mean, if you say so. So I'm finally up to the part where I'm styling her hair. And she does that thing that a lot of people do where she keeps on, like, touching her hair as I'm doing it. And that is so annoying to a stylist. Just so you guys know, like, that's really irritating to a stylist when I'm actually doing your hair and you're, like, doing this. I get, like, trying to see how much further you have to go, but sometimes it's just so excessive and it's just very, very irritating. Especially in this case because I have a curling iron to her hair. So that's a hot tool or a flat iron to her hair, and you're just touching it. Exactly what I was afraid was going to happen happened. She put her hand on her head right as I put the flat iron there, and she burned her hand. And the way she screamed, you would have thought that I just shot her. I'm like, you never gotten burned by a flat iron before? But I mean, whatever. You have a low pain tolerance, whatever. But the thing is just that she went off about it. She was just crying and, like, literally, like, boo-hoo crying. Oh my gosh, my hand is blistering. It's so bad. It hurts so bad. It hurts. And I was just like, I really didn't care. Like, I did not care. I was like, can there be any more delays in this night tonight? So again, I'm thinking in my head, I'm not making any money because I'm about to walk out and go home. And at that point, I really didn't care because I was like, do I need this money? No, I don't need it. I'm going to go home. Like, no matter how much I charged, I would have felt like it just wasn't worth it. Like, nothing is worth this because I'm irritated. Like, I've been irritated since I came through the door and found out that was you sitting on the couch with your hair not even halfway braided. So anyway, she's like yelling at her kids. Like I said, there were 2 kids running around, so they're like 6, 7 years old looking. So she's like telling them, oh, go get me some ice, oh, get me this, go get me that, whatever. And I'm just thinking, why don't you just get up and get it? Because these kids, they're not taking it seriously. They're just taking their time, like, oh, you want me to bring you this? Oh, you want me to bring you that? Because she has this remedy. Apparently, onions helps your skin to stop from blistering. It could be. And then I was telling her that I learned that putting flour on your skin helps it. So then she's like, oh, get me some flour. But, like, the kids were just taking their time. And I was just like, you get it. Like, get up and get it. It's your hand and you're the adult here. Just go get it. Eventually, she finally stops crying and her hand's finally done blistering or done hurting or whatever. So I was like, anyway, let's get back to this. So I go back to in her hair with the iron. I go back and continue styling her hair. And she did it again. She put her hand back in her hair where I had the iron and burned the same hand again. So now it's an even bigger commotion, and she's crying and she's weeping and she's hyperventilating. I'm like, it's just a burn. Like, it's just a burn. The way I'm telling the story, you guys can't even tell how long this night took. Like, it was such a long night. Like, she was just a slow moving person, and then her falling asleep slowed me down, and I started way later than I should have. Like, her putting those braids in her head took almost 40 minutes. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, she was stalling beyond belief. I really should have left at that moment. Like, I should have left before I even got started, and I'm mad at myself for not doing that. So anyway, I finally finished styling her hair. I feel like something else happened, but I can't remember. I just remember as I was finishing up, she was like, oh, so you're done. Like, she was questioning my procedure. Even when I started, she kept on, like, asking if I'm going to use this kind of glue, if I'm going to use this method, do that, whatever. And I'm just like, just let me do my job. I'm going to use what I brought, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's like she wanted me to use specific products, but she never said that before. Like, some people act like the products that they're used to are the only products that would work. And, I mean, it's a wig. Like, if it's going to glue it down, it's going to glue it down. So, anyway, yeah, so she was doing that as it was ending. And at this point, I'm, like, not even answering her questions anymore. I'm just like, yeah, it's done. Yeah, we're done. So, like, she didn't even seem that satisfied when it was over. She was like, oh, that's it? And I was like, yeah, that's it. And she's like, oh, okay, well, thank you. So, I really thought there was something else to say, but I can't remember. But anyway, so as I was cleaning up, she just cashed at me. She didn't tip me. And I really don't complain about not getting tips. Like, it really doesn't usually bother me. But if I do something and I go out of my way for you, I would expect a little something extra. And like I said, she was originally going to get her hair done at the shop. She was going to get it done earlier. She missed her appointment, and I basically rewarded her for missing her appointment because I went to her house for free after hours. Like, all things that should have been an extra charge had it been anyone else. But no, I literally did her a favor for missing her appointment. I didn't even realize I was doing that until, like, as I was in the act of doing her hair. Like, I really did too much for her, and she showed no appreciation. Like, I really can't get over the fact that her hair wasn't braided. Like, I know a lot more happened, and I know that we're past that, but I just can't get off that. Like, her hair wasn't even braided. And she took 40 minutes to put 4 braids in her hair. Like, even if I had just braided it, it would have taken less time. So I should have just charged her the full price at the end of the night because I was there for just as long. Plus gas. Like, why didn't I charge her for gas? What was I thinking? But I wasn't thinking because she wasn't my travel client. She was the store's client. So I didn't even think about being like, oh, well, I usually charge for traveling, So that's the end of that night. And I honestly never, ever, 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 ever wanted her the client again. I was waiting for her to call me and complain that I was lifting, but she didn't, surprisingly. But about a week later, she asked me if I can come over and do a touch-up and, like, reattach it because, it was starting to lift. And I was like, starting to lift? I'm really surprised that any of that is still in your head. So anyway, when she called me and asked for a touch-up, she wanted me to do it that day. And I was like, no, I'm not really free until, like, a week from now or 2 weeks from now. And then she didn't answer me. And then she tried it later on. She'd be like, hey, can you come over and do a touch-up? And I was like, no, like, now I'm not free until this day, like, you need to book an appointment. That's what I'm telling her. What's not getting in your head? You need to book it in advance. And I would tell her, no, I usually take appointments 2 weeks in advance, at least. And she just refused to do it. So, anyway, one time, I remember she was asking me when I'm next available to do her hair, and I was like, oh, next week, Tuesday. And she never answered. And then I remember the day before that Tuesday, she was like, hey, hon, I'm not going to be able to make it to my appointment tomorrow. And I was just like, you had an appointment tomorrow? Because she never answered me saying that, she was going to take that Tuesday spot. So it's a good thing she couldn't make it because at that point, I was already booked. But anyway, I was just always mad that she was even booking with me because I just never wanted to do her hair again. And, like, at this point, she's not even asking for touch-ups anymore. She just never got it. But she was just asking for wig installs again. And I was like, you were actually satisfied with what I did? Like, don't you think that I'm, like, an abusive hairdresser because I burnt your hand twice? But I didn't. She burnt her own hand. So anyway, the last time she booked with me, she was asking me if I could do her hair, like, the next day again. And this time I was able to do her hair. The only reason I was free that day was because I wasn't taking appointments because my car needed to get work done, so I wasn't going to have my car, so I could only take home appointments. So I told her I actually am free tomorrow, but only if you can come to me because I'm not going to have my car. So she said, that's fine. what's your address? I don't remember if she was booking the day before or 2 days before, but it was like very short notice. I think it was 2 days before. But anyway, she was like, what's your address? So I gave it to her, and then we set a time. So this was her first time like actually really booking an appointment with me since that night. So anyway, so that morning came and she didn't show up. I didn't hear from her. I remember waking up and I was literally staying in bed until she said something like, I'm on my way or whatever. And I was watching the time approach and I wasn't hearing from her, but I got up anyway and she never came to my house. And I never even called to be like, oh, are you still coming? Like, I didn't do any of that. Because at this point I was like, good. This is a no call, no show. And I don't ever rebook no call, no shows. Like, if you don't show up and you never tell me you're not coming and you never bring it up again, I will never take an appointment with you anyway. So I was like, good. Thank God she actually did mess up, so I have a legitimate reason to never book her again. And that was that. But she never even tried to book with me since then, but I'm just glad that she can't book with me. But anyway, like I said, it's kind of well, it's not a quick story, but there was not that much to it. It's not really a horror story. It's just an example of like being taken advantage of and me just being too nice. And but it's like I don't know, I guess I care too much, because I do care like when people have things coming up, and I'm not really one to squeeze in appointments because I don't like being inconvenienced and having my schedule messed up. But if I can do a favor for somebody and it's not gonna, mess me up in any way, I don't mind doing it. But sometimes it goes unappreciated, and this was the perfect example of that. So that's my little story. I just wanted to share that. I'm not even sure how entertaining that was. Sorry for my speed talking. I just knew I had a lot to say, but that's the end of the story. So I'm just going to finish flat ironing this wig, and then we're going to close off this video. But anyway, yeah, that's my story. And like I said, a lot of the things that went wrong on this night was just my mistakes. You don't even need to tell me. I know I made a lot of mistakes. I was doing too much for no reason. But yeah, like, what I didn't mention, I didn't even go home until midnight. I got to her house at 8:40 and I didn't go home until midnight. Why was I at her house for almost 4 hours doing a wig install? Why? But that's because I didn't even start her hair until like almost 10:30. I mean 9:30. And then I had to work around her sleeping and stopping to cry about this blistering hand. And I mean, that took a while. And there were multiple times I was like, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I don't know why I never just did it, because I was really like, I do not care that I'm not making any money. Like, I know I wasted my time, but I don't care. Like, it just wasn't worth it to me. But somehow I stuck it out and I made my little bit of money for that night, and that was it. But I definitely don't have a repeat client through her, and I'm very grateful for that. So anyway, that is the end of my story. Thank you guys for listening. Hope it was interesting, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Oh, and here's my wig. Flat ironing those sections to get rid of all that matting. So this would last me about another week if I decide to wear it for another week, but I think I'm just going to wear it for a couple more days and then switch to another one. But yeah, this is my synthetic wig that I made a whole year ago, and it's still going strong. Sorry, obviously my angles aren't good. I'm on the floor. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!